Greetings, brothers and sisters and ministers in the church. I welcome you to listen to chapter 1. Nebraska is death. Get into it. So we start with the chapter 1 and we are following the dates from August 1989 till June 1991. All right. Now, in August 1989, Gary Garadori is with his wife at night and he's you know, talking with her, giving her, talking about the case that he was pursuing, you know, and that how big of a case this is and how much of impact this case would have of on the whole United States of America. And even if half of the victims and the victim witnesses are saying it's true, it'd still be the biggest thing ever to hit the Nebraska. He was working hard on this case, sleepless nights as he combed through ton of evidence, and the sleepless nights are not gonna decrease; they're going to furthermore increase. And the reason for the sleepless nights are just going to be a different. We'll see how. In September next month of 1989, someone broke into Garadori's home. Yeah. And that was just the beginning of the attacks that are going to come. By the time January came, he was writing to Alan Bierman, he's the Nebraska Secretary of State. He was telling about that he and his employees were being followed and questionable situations have arisen during the investigation. Threatening situations. He asked him, why? Am I too close to something they don't want to become public? Confused Gary. Well, these kinds of attacks were continued till April 1990. He found out that his phone being tapped, and all that indicated to him that the emergence of a task in his hand. And he started work even more harder. He found out about the phone being tagged by some electronic company that the repairman he comes to repair his phone, and he found out that well, there's a bug in the phone. It's been recording everything he says. That's how they're keeping the tab on him. Next month, June 1990, Gary he shows up in this white Corvette car on some barbecue, and there are a lot of concerned parents were there, and they were talking about how the lack of the coverage on the Franklin case, and he assured them that we are working on it, and also he says some he also shows concern of life, his life family, and talk about like talk about his vehicles are being tapped, tampered with. His phone is being tapped, and that's why he's selling his boats, his vehicles, and this white Corvette that he just drove in. He pretty sure that it's uh, it's not being tapped because it was very well hidden and he's not drove as much. And he says like, well, the private plane that I use, it's easily tempered. Like anyone can easily temper that, and he fear for his life. But he says also like, if they kill me, then it's going to be too obvious. Then it's just too obvious, there's like, okay, something is going on. So he tells like they're not gonna kill him, but you never know. You never know what could happen. Well, early July next month, 1990, Gary phoned Senator Smith. We got him. We got him, Smith, and he's going to talked about him on the phone, and he says, "Me and my son Andrew are going to fly into Chicago for the All Star game on the on the weekend, and I want to do some investigation there, and then we'll return to Schmidt on Wednesday, and I got some concrete evidence that I want to show." Well, on Wednesday, 10:30 a.m., Smith received the news of Gary Cordari died in a plane crash. He was dead. Allegedly, the plane crashed at 2:30 a.m. on Wednesday. The, that day, Schmidt was talking about how Gary was saying that he's not going to get killed. It is going to be too obvious, and he has found some concrete evidence. And a lot of people want him dead. A lot of powerful people, powerful politicians, and people who are in Washington, D.C., they are not liking what is going on in here. And guess they got their wish. Now, is it an accident? Well, he said it's not. Seems like an accident because 15 people have died during the start of the investigation and today, and all of them were either were witnesses or victim witnesses, corroborators. It's it's getting very fishy, and even a blind person could see what is going on in here. Smith told about what he talked about the phone with Gary. He says that he found some, obtained some pictures that some alleged victims said they were taken during the period of the abuse. And he also says that the victims were also being exposed to satanic cultism, you know, and he was working on the places and the times, and he had some leads into Washington, D.C. Now, that is pretty heavy stuff, and it kind of confirms the satanic involvement in the child sex abuse cases that were popping off left and right during that time period. And for some reason, uh, when Gary and his son stayed in the Chicago motel, the owner of the motel, he denied staying of Gary and his son ever, and says there is no record of him staying there. Meanwhile, there is a record of phone of him talking to his wife and his associate. Why are they lying? Don't know. National Transportation Safety Board couldn't come up with the cause of the crash, and they finally blame it on Gary Cardo himself. CIA director, the friend of the author, uh, Bill Colby, he says, uh, "We may never know the cause of his death. It's it's done now." Meanwhile, the public outrage just increased with the mourning of his mother, Mary. She was crying that they killed my son and my grandson. And past October 1990, Reverend James Bill visits Nebraska as a part of a fact-finding commission, said that he had never seen terror on people's faces, not even the faces of Mississippi Negroes during the time of 1950 and 1960s, when the Ku Klux Klan was lynching uh, black people. People are very terrified now, as the death of Gary cast a pall of terror on Nebraska. December 1990, New York State police officer, and who was a friend of Dr. Denson Gerber, advised not to go to Nebraska and said, "Don't go. Nebraska is deadliest." 9 January 1991, Franklin Committee went out of existence. There was no investigator. No one wanted to take part in investigations, something like that. People were terrified. So, in the end, the committee just died down, and Douglas County and federal grand juries indicted victim witnesses Alicia Owen and Paul Bernanke. On 21st June 1991, Alicia Owen was found guilty, and Douglas County prosecutors dropped the charges against Paul Bernanke. The door on Franklin case was slammed shut for good.